Shamus.
Down you go.
Hello and hello.
I know
You're
you're
back.
I'm back.
The search party, they found you.
You went to Europe for a few weeks.
I've been off into the distance to find
You
myself.
look relaxed, Webby. You look
I'm
ready
relaxed.
to go.
Yep.
Let's go.
Reedy and
Ready to
Shamus
knock your heads together. Let's go.
we've been holding the fort
Yeah.
down here with Webby gone, but plenty to discuss. So let's get into it. First up, Ben Hunt. A bit of a battle to keep him for the Dragons, and there's some other clubs who are interested. The Dogs. Tell us what the situation is at the moment.
Yeah, so the Dragons have made him an offer, a 2-year deal to stay at the club. He wants to stay at the club. Now, the offer is... It's a confusing one because there's talk that he's only been offered 700 to 750. That's based on the salary cap the way it is now. The NRL in negotiation with the Players' Union about what the cap looks like next year. The NRL are budgeting around $10.5 million. So therefore, there's a ratchet clause which means Ben Hunt's contract will go up that percentage, that jump there. So it's the likelihood it's going to end up in the 8s anyway. That's the confusion around the cap. If it goes to 11, which the RLPA wanted to get to, then Ben Hunt's salary will go up even more. The question that's asked is about what he's worth. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think the Dragons are around that 800 mark. It's fair for Ben Hunt. Would you argue that he's worth, as a 33-year-old or 34-year-old coming 34,
yeah.
do you think he's worth more than the 8s?
I think that's perfect. I think they're irresponsible if they go higher than that for Ben Hunt. As good a year he's had and as good a player as he is, as you said, he'll be 34 in the first year of that extension, going on 35 the next year. It'll end up at over $800,000 a year. I think that's fine for Ben Hunt. I think that's about what he's worth at 34.
It's a tricky one for the Dragons because they've got all this great young talent coming through. The problem is that Ben Hunt is the best thing going for that club at the moment. I read reports that he wants a deal tied to Anthony Griffin's future. I don't think the Dragons should agree to that whatsoever. But it's so typical of the Dragons that they would probably lose Ben Hunt at the time when he's playing exactly his best football out of that contract. So, I don't know, I just think they can't afford to lose him. If they had to go a little bit higher than 800, I'd say fair enough, but beyond $1 million, no.
But for his position, is that 34 that old for his position?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty... And look, he's had a great year this year, but you would say over the course of that deal, I think it's a 6-year deal, next year will be the 6th year of it. I mean, he has had his ups and downs a little bit. You know, he's been on really big money for a long time now. And I think at some point in your career, all the great players, the high-paid players, they have the big earning capacity. At the end, they drop off a little bit, so you can put a decent team around them. I know. You know, if he stays, the other thing is they're going to lose Jaden Sullivan, aren't they? Who's the next in line? So, I think 800 plus is. You know,
they played the finals.
That's a reasonable wicket.
They played the finals once in 5 years with Ben Hunt there. And they, as you said, they invested a lot of money into him. Now, I'm not saying that he's not entitled to go after what he's worth, but there's a little bit of part of me that feels like he owes the club for investing so highly. And they've stood by him. He's been very much criticised throughout his tenure there, and the club has stood by Ben Hunt. Now, the question I think is that the most prominent question needs to be asked is he the 7 or is he the 9? Because if he's the 7, then Jaden Sullivan, by all reports, will be asking for a release to go elsewhere. And the Bulldogs are watching that situation pretty closely in regards to Jaden Sullivan. I think the Dragons are missing a trick these last 2 weeks of the season. We want to see what Jaden Sullivan can do in the number 7, not the number 9. He's playing hooker today, Jaden Sullivan, but I think there's a chance there to see if this kid can actually play in the number 7, and then you've got Ben Hunt for a couple of weeks.
You can't move Ben Hunt.
The season's over.
He's your captain. You can't shun him.
You're not moving him to the bench.
He played there for Queensland.
Yeah, but not for his club team. Well, you think they should move him to hooker as well?
I think they should try. I think he's a great dummy half.
He doesn't want to play there. He's your captain.
But he's the captain. Shouldn't he be doing what's best for the team? Doesn't want to.
What's best for the team is him at halfback. He's their best halfback.
They missed the 8. They've got a good team.
What, you think there'd be a better team with him at hooker?
No, they'd probably be last if he wasn't playing at all. But I think if he's at hooker, at least have a look at it. Last year they were so stubborn with Corey Norman. They kept playing him. They didn't give. And when they finally gave the kids a go.
You look flabbergasted.
So you say to your captain, Ben, last 2 weeks of the year we're going to move you to 9. Is that okay? And he goes, no, I don't want to do it.
Is that not going to impact also these contract negotiations as well? Exactly.
It would make the decision for him if they did that to him. It's crazy. You guys are mad.
But you're talking about team first mentality here. Shouldn't he be doing what's best for the team?
I don't think it's that big a deal.
We don't think
it's a couple of dead matches. Who cares?
Well, he probably cares.
But we don't know if Jaden Sullivan is the real deal. I don't think the Dragons know if Jaden Sullivan's the real deal.
If that's the case, if he does care, if he doesn't care what's best for the team, then maybe he shouldn't be there.
He probably thinks that him playing halfback is what's best for the team.
It might be, but
what if it's not?
Well, then he'll go somewhere else.
Did you watch Origin at all? Did you see how he played for Queensland in State of Origin?
Yeah, but he had a handy halfback in front of him.
But he also wants his future tied to Anthony Griffin. Now, the club's got to make the decision what's best for them. Like, we're talking about... I know that he's playing really well and he'd probably win the Dally M, but but he can't hold the club to ransom. I'm not saying he is. The club's got to do what's best for the club.
Okay, so you move into hooker, he's gone. He won't stay if you move him to hooker. You think he'll stay at the club if they move him to hooker?
Okay, so...
And make him move to hooker.
But so the question about Jaden Sullivan, can he play?
I've got no idea.
So the club hasn't given him a chance to play halfback.
I'll tell you who he can't play better than. Ben Hunt at halfback.
There's no hooker in the club. With all due respect to Andrew McCulley.
But don't move Ben Hunt.
They tried. They went for Sam Verrills and they missed out.
Well, keep looking.
This is great. What have I been missing?
So much.
Can we move on? I'm agreeing with Chamis, and it really...
That's disturbing.
This is not, it's not
really
often that this
affected you.
happens.
I like this European
Well, let's
Webby.
talk about Cameron Munster. We know that he's going to stay at the Storm until for next year, but this whole drama about his future, when is it going to end?
Is this still going?
It is still going.
Nothing changed while you're away.
I can't believe that I know I sound like a broken record, but we are talking about what a player is doing in 2024 in August 2022. It's insane.
We're talking about it in March and we're still talking about it.
Whoever's running, is Peter Vellini still the boss of the NRL? Well, he needs to change. He needs to go on top of that and change it.
Just too much discussion about too many years in advance.
It's crazy. It's crazy to be thinking about where a player's going a year and a half in advance. It's just what we're doing. We're talking about Hunt, what we're talking about with Munster. It's just better players. Like, I only reckon Brandon Smith's come good in the last few weeks. Like, it affects their form. It really does.
So when will the circus end?
Well, I think Melbourne hope to hear next week whether they get an answer to that extension. They've offered him 3 years, over $3 million. But I don't think that'll be the end of it. He's turning his back on a lot of money if he takes that offer. And I think he obviously wants to stay in Melbourne, but he's got you're turning your back, you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you take that offer.
Do you think it's going to be over and done with, seriously? Because he can't take the Dolphins offer until November 1.
I don't think it'll be. I think Melbourne want it resolved soon. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to drag on. But he's got a World Cup. He's going to go to the World Cup. I would imagine he'd want it resolved before he goes to the World Cup.
You're going to the World Cup. You can deal with it. Let it drag on till November and Reedy can worry about
Hopefully
it when
get the exclusive over there. He drops the bombshell.
We'll tune in to Cross to the Sunday Footy Show if we're still on air. All right, Manly, their season has taken a bit of a tumble. So is Des Hasler the right man to lead Manly going forward?
Well, I think Des is, yeah. I mean, he's got a year left in that deal. He needs to start next year well, Des. There's no question about that. But they've got a massive off-season coming at Manly. They've got a lot they've got to work through. There's a lot of issues in that club. And no matter what people say, that club is completely split. It's a mess. It's a monstrous off-season. But I think Des is the right man to guide them through it. And he should be given the opportunity to see out that last year of the deal. And it'll hinge on how he starts next year.
Isn't there a clause in his contract that will see him move into the head of football role once that's over as well? Like, this is not going to go away. If there's tension between Des Hasler and people at the club, how does he continue on in that role if that's going to continue on for years to come? Like, the club, as you said, it is a mess. And it's not simply about football. There are factions within the club that are causing problems. And there have been problems with Des at Manly before. There were problems with Des at the Bulldogs as well. Over time, whether you like it or not, Des upsets certain people. And his results last year, the way Tom played and the way Manly went, they justified their investment in Des. But this year, it leaves the question hanging in the air as to whether Des goes on or not.
I think Manly is such a unique club. I think a Manly person really has to be the coach of that club. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but in their case it is. But they do like an infight, don't they, at Brookvale? I think Des is one of the best coaches of the modern era, and I think he should be given the respect to coach out next season, coach out his contract. But if not Des, then who? Who is it?
And that's the issue that we always talk about whether they're the right coaches, but then you can't replace a coach with. You've got to have an actual option to replace them.
Particularly if you talk about a Manly man, if you want to get and that club believes in their own people taking the reins, right? There's no obvious Manly man out there to take over from Des. And the issue is, Des hasn't really groomed anyone either, and that's a problem for the club, I think, because one of the things with Des is you look at all the great coaches, Robbo, Craig, Wayne, they've all bred coaches or grown coaches have grown out of that system. There hasn't really been a coach that's grown out of Des' system that you think of off the top of your head.
And granted, they did have the Pride jersey drama and a lot of injuries as well, and Tom Trbojevic.
Well, and the other big thing for Des is those players, those senior players, particularly the Trbojevics and Daly, they're great fans of Des. They believe in Des, and you don't want to drive a wedge between. If you make a decision to get rid of Des, you don't want to put them offside because they are your future.
Well, I think that's a little bit overrated in terms of, I know they are big fans of Des. They're also big fans of Trent Barrett as well. When coaches move on, next one comes in. I don't think that's the issue. I think they got, as Webby said, the infighting at the club is the problem. I think the Pride jersey fiasco brought it all to a head, but I think that there was tension there in the background before it all came to the surface.
All right, quickly before we run out of time, Lindsay Collins, his suspension for that hip drop on Eisenhuth, 4 weeks. Is it enough or is it too much?
I think it's a little too much. Quickly. Too much.
I think Brandon Smith hit the nail on the head. If no one gets injured, you don't look at that twice. That's the problem with it.
3-ish, I reckon.
3. 1 week too many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Great.